Hey, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to finish up series. So each class kind of ended up somewhere different. So I'm just going to start here, which is the last question on the front page. If you've already done this in class, we finished this in class, just jump ahead to where you need to be, and we'll go from there. All right, so find the sum of all positive odd integers less than 180. So we're actually going to use our second formula for this one to find our sum. All right, and that's the number of digits that we have. Well, we're talking about odd integers from 1 to 180, so that means there's going to be 90 because we're only taking the odds. Divide by 2. So my first odd integer is 1, and my last odd integer through 180 is 179. All right, so we're going to simplify 90 divided by 2, and you end up with 45. And 1 plus 179 gives you 180. So go ahead and take a moment on your calculator and type that in. And you get 8,100 or 8,100 for that solution. All right, let's go to the problem on the top of the backside. It says find the first three terms of an arithmetic sequence, which a to the first is negative 16, a to the n is 33, and Sn is 68. Okay, so we have the first and the last term here and the sum. So we're going to use this to help us find how many numbers we have before we can actually go through and find the first three terms of the sequence. So let's go ahead and do this. So 68 equals, and we don't know, but we're going to find out, negative 16 plus 33. All right. So I'm just going to rewrite my 68 equals n divided by 2. Negative 16 plus 33, type that into your calculator, and you get 17. Right, we're just keep simplifying. 68 equals, now I'm going to take this 17 and divide by 2. So I get 8.5 n. And take 68 and divide by 8.5 to find our n. All right, you should get 8. So that's good. We have the n. Now we're going to use our information to help us find our d. And once we have our d, finally, then we'll be able to find our next two terms. So we're going to use this formula to help us find our d. So our sum is 68. Our n is 8. 2 times our first term, which is that negative 16, plus n was 8 minus 1, and then d, because we don't know that yet. All right. So looks yucky, but we can tackle this. 68, we can simplify 8 divided by 2. We get 4. 2 times negative 16, we get negative 32, plus 8 minus 1 gives us a 7d. All right, so what's your gut instinct with the next step on this? Yeah, we want to distribute in that 4, so distribute. Good. All right, so I'm going to take my negative 32, so grab your calculator and times it by 4. And you get 128, negative 128. Plus, and then 4 times 7 gives me 28d. All right, so go ahead and add 128 to both sides. And I think we get 196 equals 28. D. Take your 196 and divide it by 28. And you should see D equals 7. Nice work. Okay, whew, we're finally at the point that we can find the next three terms, or the first three terms. So our first one they told us is negative 16. So now I'm going to add 7 to that. So we get negative 9. And then to find the third term, you're going to add 7. So you get negative 2. And it was a lot of work, but not hard work to get to that next point. All right, so here we are. Oh, this one looks totally different. This is called a sigma. And sigma means summation. It's a Greek letter, so sigma is this Greek letter. Okay, so I just want you to jot off a little bit to the side about sigma notation. All right, so you have this funny looking E, backwards 3, some people. All right, so you have n equals on the bottom. This is your first value of n. Okay. Then on the top, you have a some type of a number up there. It doesn't say n equals, just gives you a number. This is your last value of n. And then you have some type of a formula here. And this is the formula for the series. So you might want to circle this just so you can use it as a reference. All right, so if we look at number 6, we would say the sum of 3n and n goes from 1 to 10. So we can think about this two ways. I'm going to show you the expanded version, which represents all of this, and then I'm going to show you a shortcut version. All right, so if we start at 1, so it's 3 times 1 plus 3 times 2, all the way up to 10. 3 times 3 plus 3 times 4 plus 3 times 5 plus dot, 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 all the way up to 3 plus 3 times 10. So you can calculate that all out and add it. Totally fine. You're going to get the right answer. Okay, but I can show you a little bit shortcut using this formula up here. So S represents sum. So the sum of ours gives us, and I can put 10 down here because we go to up to 10. So n, how many terms do we have? Well, you need to include 1 and 10. So if it helps to count on your fingers, sometimes I count on my fingers. So you're going to have all the way up to 10. So don't take 10 minus 1, but it's all the way up to 10. Okay, my first term, so that's this, 3 times 1. So we get 3 for my first term. Plus, this is my last term, 3 times 10, so 30. All right, so 10 divided by 2 gives me 5, and 3 plus 30 gives me 33. So if I multiply those, I get 160. Ooh, it moved on me. 165 is my sum of that series. So two ways you could have done it. You could have done it the green way, all out by hand, which is totally fine. Or you can use our formula here. To use the formula, you have to find the first and the last term. So let's go ahead and look at this next one. I'm going to use the formula with this one. Okay, I start at 5 and I'm going all the way up to 8. So to find my first term, I'm going to take 3 times 5 and minus 1 from it. So my first term is 14. To find my last term, I'm going to go plug 8 in. So 3 times 8 minus 1. And I find my last term to be 23. All right, here's where you have to think about it. I'm not taking 8 minus 5. I'm going 5, 6, 7, 8. So my n is 4 then. So I'm using my summation formula above. So 4 divided by 2 times 14 plus 23. Okay, 4 divided by 2 gives me, oops, not 8, 2. All right, and 14 plus 23, we get 37. So my sum is 2 times 37. So I get 74. See how that worked? The hardest thing that is going to be for some of you is just knowing that between 8 and 5 is not 3, but you're including the 8 and the 5, so it's 4. All right. Whew. Suppose you email a joke to 3 friends on Monday. Each of those friends send the joke to 3 friends on Tuesday. Each person who receives it on Tuesday sends it to 3 more on Wednesday, and so on. How many have read it by Friday? All right, so if I'm going to write a summation with this, I start on Monday as 1, and I go to 5 for Friday, because Monday is 1, Tuesday's 2, so on, so on, so on. Okay, so if each person sends it to 3, this is going to be an exponential function. And so with this one, you could find the first term, find the last term, or you can go ahead and plug in 3 to 1, plus 3 squared plus 3. So really this one is not too bad. It's pretty short to plug it in that way. Or you can say I have 5 divided by 2. My first term is 3. 3 to the 5th is 243. Either of these are going to work for you. So I'm just going to give you a moment. You can either calculate the top row or you can calculate the bottom row. So go ahead and take a moment to do that. Okay, did you do that? I hope you did. You get 363 as your sum. So let's go ahead and talk about geometric series. So 2 different formulas. Totally remember, I am giving you these when we take our quiz, okay? The only difference between them is this one here is the a to the first is on the outside. Here you need to have that the first and the last term. Okay, so kind of similar to our ones with the arithmetic is one of them you just needed to have your, first term and your n, and the second one you needed to have your first and your last term. So let's go ahead and look here and decide which formula to use. Find the sum of a geometric series for which a1 is 1,000, a sub n is 125, and r is 1/2. Okay, so I have my first and my last terms, so this is an automatic to use the second one. All right, so my sum I have is 1,000 minus 125 times my r, which is 1/2, all over 1 minus my r, which is 1/2. All right, so you can type the whole top row in on your calculator. So 1,000 minus 125 times 1/2. If you're going to do it out in separate steps, just keep in mind that you want to do the multiplication first. All right, I got 937.5, and on the bottom I have 1/2 or 0.5. So go ahead and do that division there. And we find 1875. So again, we picked our formula based off what they gave us. So let's look at this next one and decide what formula. Maria arranges some rows of dominoes. So after she knocks one over, each domino knocks over 2 more when it falls. There are 10 rows. How many dominoes does Maria use? Okay, so this one is a multiplication one. So our first term, she has 1 domino, and after everyone knocks down 2 more. So that makes our r equals 2. So we're not adding 2 every time, we're multiplying by 2 every time. And we want to know if there are 10 rows, how many does she have? So 10. All right, so if we look at what we're given, we're going to use the first formula because we don't have our last term. So our sum equals a to the 1, so our first term, times 1 minus our ratio, 2, but then it's to the n, so to the 10th power. All over, and it's the same denominator for both of them, 1 minus your your r, sorry. All right, so the top, you can just type the top into your calculator. 1 times, well, you really don't even need that 1 multiply in the front, 1 minus 2 to the 10th. So we get negative 1,023. And 1 minus 2, we get negative 1. So it makes our solution 1,023 dominoes. All right, last problem. It was a very fitting timeline for this problem. Contagious diseases can spread very quickly. Suppose 5 people are ill during the first week of an epidemic, and each person who is ill spreads the disease to 4 more people by the end of the next week. So each person spreads it to 4 people each week. Okay. By the end of the 10th week of the epidemic, how many people have been affected by the illness? So how many people start? Well, 5. And what's the rate that they spread it? Well, they each spread it to 4, so we times it by 4. And we are talking about 10 weeks. So this one is going to lend us to that first formula again. So the summation, so A1 is 10, And then we have our 1 minus our r, which is 4, raised to the power of n, which we have as 10, all over 1 minus our r, which was 4. All right, again, I'd recommend just typing in the top part. And yes, you get a big number. You have 5, 2, negative 5, 2, 4, 2, 8, 7, 5. 5,242,700 or 875. And in the bottom, we get divided by negative 3. So we're going to take a negative divided by a negative. So we're going to get a positive. And we end up with 1,747,625 people. Wow. Can you imagine that? There starts with 5, and after 10 weeks, we've hit over 1 million people. And they've only spread it to 4 people during the end of the week. That could be just your family. So it spreads fast, guys. All right, go ahead and finish up the rest of your series worksheet for your homework, and then be prepared to review and take your quiz.